Hmm. Oh. Happy Friday to all of y'all. We're going to start soon. What up, Evol? You in the chat already? I appreciate you, sir. Just let the peoples filter in one by one. The StreamYard link is in the chat. Yes, it is. Just want to give a couple more minutes. We'll probably officially go at 7. All right. And guess what? You can donate. You know how most people say, oh, I don't want to ask for money. I'm asking for money. I hope that don't seem shameful, but I want to see this grow. You know what I mean? I want it to go from a hobby to a small business, and who knows? The name of the game for adults in America is residual income. That's not a bad thing. All right, so you can see on the ticker it's going by kind of fast, so hopefully you can just scroll like, hey, what's that say? Wait. Yeah. I would greatly appreciate my very first donation. I've been doing this for 6 years. I used to do little odd and end videos here and there, but then I just decided, you know what, I'm just do a whole page. You know what I mean? With comic book stuff. You know what I'm saying? And this is where we are. So this, I hope I don't get emotional. If you donate, you know what I mean? And I'm not a starving kid in Africa or anything. I mean, this is basically just your own benevolence. You know what I mean? But if you were to donate, this will be the first tangible USD that the Great Expanse by John Bat 426 here on YouTube has ever had. And I don't know. I hope I can maintain my composure. But I thank you guys so much for being here on a Friday evening. Hopefully you guys had a great work week. Hopefully Friday was just a relief. You know what I mean? Hopefully you guys are kicked back, relaxing. If you're a trucker, a big mother truck, no, but if you're a trucker and you're listening, I appreciate you. You know what I mean? I appreciate everybody that's stopping by. I mean, this is a comic book related channel, so we're talking about cartoons that are started by comic book characters. You know what I mean? Like X-Men 97, we'll be talking about the finale of that. We're going to be talking about D23 and everything that was released last weekend. And I love the way they released it. It's like, so it basically is going to be the talking point for the entire week. You know what I mean? We got an X-Men cast reveal. Hopefully you've watched, you know, my video, you know, and other videos, you know what I'm saying, that deal with the cast. We're going to go into that. We had an amazing special look Avengers Doomsday trailer that was dropped at D23. Again, which is Disney. All right. So I'm excited to get into these topics. And guess what? We're not just doing Marvel, we're also doing DC. We're going to talk about the pilot episode of Lanterns. Yes, starring Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre. All right. So again, it's about 7 o'clock. We're only going to do this for an hour. Hopefully we just give you guys a little punch, you know what I mean, to welcome you into your weekend. So we are going to get right into it. And hopefully the music isn't too loud. Hopefully you can hear everything that I'm saying. Again, the camera quality, I apologize. This is a webcam. So with donations from people like you, no, but I'm saying, but yes, we're working. All right, we're ascending. We're trying to elevate, you know, like a Dalek or something. But let's just get right into. Let's see. Should we start with DC or Marvel? Let me see if I have a coin around here so I can do a little two-face action. All right. So heads, we'll start with Marvel, tails, DC. Heads, Marvel, Tails DC. Tails DC. All right. So we're going to start with DC, the DCU under James Gunn. He was hired in late 2022 to be the guiding light of the DC universe brought into live action and also brought into animation. They were looking at, as I said last week, they were looking at a man named Dan Lin, who is now an executive at Netflix. The Rock was talking about taking over DC just because he was producing, or I guess he was the executive producer of Black Adam with his $7 Productions. He really was under the impression that the millions and millions of The Rock fans wanted to see him lead the charge of DC, but they said no. And they went the James Gunn route. And why not? Because James Gunn generated a lot of interest. He had generated a lot of money with the Guardians of the Galaxy. You know what I mean? He basically helped shape the direction of comic book movies for about a good 3-year period. I mean, we got the Guardians of the Galaxy. As I said, Ant-Man and the Wasp is kind of like, I think the entire Ant-Man trilogy is sort of like a byproduct of this James Gunn tone. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of like happy-go-lucky until it gets serious. You know what I mean? We also saw in 2023, the last year that, I think it was the last year of Phase 4. I could be wrong. I could be mistaken. But every MCU movie that came out that year had that same James Gunn tone. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania had that James Gunn tone. Of course, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 had it, and the Marvels. All 3 MCU films that year had that same theme, that same tone. All right. And it's not a bad thing. All right. But it just didn't really work. I wanted to see James Gunn go to new heights. I wanted him to show his range as a director. I wanted him to see his range as a filmmaker in the new DCU, who are the crosstown rivals of Marvel. All right. So that's who was presenting us with all of our DC media, James Gunn. So now, when the partial slate was announced in January of 2023, the one that I was excited for the most, and I'm not just capping because it just came out recently, was Lanterns. Because all we have for my whole life, okay, as far as live action goes, was the Ryan Reynolds movie from 2010 or 2011, one of those years. And it was a fun time. All right. I mean, I know they kind of poo-poo, Green Lantern nowadays, but when it first came out, I enjoyed it. Now, Parallax looked awful. It looked like space diarrhea, as everybody says. I watched that conclusion recently of Green Lantern, and it's still bad. It did not improve with age. It looked bad, okay? But that's all we had live action. So when he said it's going to be a television series, I like that idea more. Maybe that's a bad take, all right? But I wanted to see the Green Lantern lore fleshed out in live action. So now, if he would announce a trilogy of Lanterns, that'd have been very interesting too. But I think with a television show series, you can explore more. You can go deeper. You know what I mean? I don't really know that much about Hal Jordan. All right. I don't know that much about John Stewart. I know more about John Stewart because of the Justice League cartoon series and the successor to it, which was Justice League Unlimited. That was all John Stewart. There was no Hal Jordan in there. Hal Jordan had an animated series on Cartoon Network, which was horribly managed because Cartoon Network is horrible. Like, they always would show just Young Justice and Green Lantern up until like September, then he would cut it till January. Like I never understood or got Cartoon Network's method of doing things. Like they were, couldn't stand them. So this is what we're getting. We have a television series. Now, James Gunn announced it and says it's going to be like True Detective. He says it's going to be a terrestrial-based story that launches the overall combined theme of the partial slate, not the complete slate, of Chapter 1 of Gods and Monsters. So I was very excited for it. When the first little like 12-second teaser came out, when the Cutlass goes over the cliff, it was very pulse-pounding. It was very short, but it kind of just... And people were like, oh my God, that looked terrible. I'm like, not to me. And then the first trailer drops. Controversy ensued. It was very controversial Not because of what you saw on screen, but people are saying there's no green in the trailer. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I said, you're complaining that there's no green in the trailer? Then you hear more nuanced takes. Hal Jordan should not be able to fly unless he's surrounded by a green orb. So now you're dealing with people that are confusing visual cues with Green Lantern lore. Now, what does that mean, visual cues? We're talking about a visual cue in his animated series, the Green Lantern. You also saw it in Emerald Knights. We saw it in Green Lantern First Flight and Beware My Power and Justice League. When a Green Lantern in the cartoon is about to use his power, it's a visual cue to the viewer that he's using his power, that he's not like Superman, that there is a difference between a Green Lantern and Superman when they fly. That's the only thing it means. It is not established canon that a Green Lantern can't fly without an orb. No, that's not true. He can fly without a green orb, without a green aura. He can do that. So you have to be careful with your preferences and acting as if your preferences are established Green Lantern lore. Do you understand what I'm saying? Good. Now, so again, they said there's no green in the trailer. They're saying, oh, it looks slow. They're in a slow town. Like they're in a one-horse town. I'm going by the trailers. I'm not even talking about the pilot yet. There's less noise when you're in a small town and there's a mystery. Now, if this happened in New York or Chicago or Los Angeles, there's too many things going on. It's like, how can you really do an in-depth investigation? Now, you could say, sir, there is such thing as CSI Miami. There's such thing as Law and Order. There was New York Undercover. But if you go the New York Undercover route, you go the CSI Miami route, if you go the Law and Order route, you're basically just rehashing something that you've already seen. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this one it's a one-horse town. He said it's like True Detective. I've never seen True Detective. It's more of a buddy cop series. That's what I got from it, because Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart don't look like friends in the first trailer. They don't. So that was always my issue. I'm like, okay, you didn't like it. What didn't you like? Now you could say, well, you didn't like the fact there's no green or... Okay, that's what you don't like that you didn't see. My whole thing was, what did you see? You know what I mean? Like it's a 2-minute trailer or a minute and a half, however long the first trailer was. What did you see? What up, MP? If you want to talk about the Lanterns pilot, MP, you can click on the StreamYard link. I will invite you on stage and we can discuss it. I'm talking about the trailer, okay? So my whole thing was, okay, if you didn't like the first Lanterns trailer, tell me what you didn't like. And everybody's about, well, there's no green in the trailer. Okay, that's what you didn't see. What did you see? What did you see that you didn't like? Because there was a whole bunch of, again, lore orgasm. Like, I didn't see a ring. I don't know whose ring is that. The suit is trash. Okay, the suit looks trash. Okay, I don't like the suit the way it looked either. All right, so we can agree on that. And from what I saw, it looked kind of brownish. It looked like it was like a rust color. And I didn't like the way it looked, honest. But I liked the trailer. All right, so then we go to the second trailer. The second trailer, we see green. Are people complaining? Still complaining. I was a part of this one Discord, and I'm not going to say any names. They complained that Hal Jordan created a dollar bill that worked. A dollar bill. So let me get this straight. If you know the lore of the Green Lantern, the Green Lanterns are about the strength and the power of willpower and imagination. So you don't have a problem with a Green Lantern creating a shield that can deflect lasers and bullets. You're fine with that. You don't have a problem with Green Lantern creating a Gatling gun that's glowing green. You don't have a problem with a Gatling gun. You don't have a problem with Green Lantern creates a ship. Listen, folks, an entire spaceship. I've seen Jon Stewart's Green Lantern create a spaceship for deep space missions. But you have a problem with Hal Jordan creating a dollar bill that works? You can create advanced mechanics, a space shuttle, but he can't create a piece of paper. I don't get it. I do not get people's gripes with it. I don't get it. All right. So people are they gravitate a little more to the last trailer. We see Sinestro in the trailer. My first impression, I was like, I don't like the way this guy looks. I don't. He looks a little more like I said this last week too. He looks more like Moloch from Watchmen. You know, the guy with the pointy ears that the comedian was like in his apartment. And they were both crying or whatever. But over time, watching the trailer, it's like Sinestro looked like he's playing mind games with Hal Jordan. He says, "You don't really believe he's your backup, do you, Hal?" So he's playing mind games. So Hal's like, "No," and Sinestro says, "Tell him what he actually is." And he says, "My replacement." Now, that's one thing that I'm going to watch with great interest as the series unfolds. What does Hal Jordan do that is so egregious that they're talking about replacing him with John Stewart? Because traditionally, Hal Stewart is the greatest Green Lantern ever, who was trained under Sinestro, because prior, Sinestro was the greatest Green Lantern. So Sinestro, in turn, as a Green Lantern, trained who would succeed him as the greatest Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and then Sinestro left and became the Yellow Lantern, which is ruled by fear. All right? So we have these trailers under our belts. Now we have the pilot episode of Lanterns, and I'm excited about it. John Stewart's father is a psychopath. He's a maniac. Yes. He enters the home, John Stewart's father, military man. John Stewart and the rest of his brothers, they quickly turn off the TV. And it's almost as if maybe they were up past their bedtime, but his father walks in and mean mugs John Stewart. "Let's go outside." And I'm like, is he going to get a beating or what? John Stewart goes and stands over by, I guess, the garage door, puts an apple on his head. Maniac father pulls out his gun and does target practice just to see if John Stewart will buckle. Maniac, I tell you. Maniac. And he's like, "Are you afraid?" I'd be afraid. I'm like, "Dad, I don't want to be a Green Lantern anymore." Yeah, I mean, like, you got it. But no, John Stewart, he's stoic. He's like, he doesn't flinch. His father raises the gun, pow, blows the apple off his head. John Stewart doesn't flinch one time. He's unwavering. So we see, now I said this when I saw the second trailer. I said, it's almost as if John Stewart was preparing his entire life to become a Green Lantern. And the pilot confirms it, that his father knew that John Stewart, I guess he was just perplexed and mesmerized by what Hal Jordan brought as the Green Lantern, that he wanted to be the Green Lantern. So his father, in some perverse way, is preparing John Stewart to be a Green Lantern. And when John Stewart walks away from the garage door, you see like all these bullet holes. So he'd been going through this ritual, this bizarre ordeal, since he was like yay high. Because you can sort of see that as John Stewart grew, you know, the bullet holes kind of go up the wall. You know what I mean? So in the very beginning, we see that Hal Jordan picks up John Stewart in an old-fashioned cutlass. And John Stewart is kind of just like, sort of like not really emotional. He's sort of like, "Yes, sir." You know what I mean? Dispassionate. Hal Jordan is like intentionally kind of like jabbing at him. And then he says, "When you say sir, it's more like you're saying F you." And it's kind of funny because then John Stewart says something, "Sir." And so he's like confirming, like, "Yes, F you, sir." And then Hal Jordan sends the car over the cliff. And before he jumps out of the car, he says there's a taco stand about 3 miles north. So when he dives out of the car, we don't see how John Stewart survives. But we do see that John Stewart is walking towards the taco stand, and an avatar of Hal Jordan appears from the ring. I have both rings on. All right. And it's a younger Hal Jordan. Like, I don't think he has any gray, but it's an automaton. It's sentient programming created by the ring. And so he looks disheveled and he's like, "Have I taught you anything?" And John Stewart's like, "Not much." So he said, "So I haven't taught you how to fly either." No. And this is 10 years prior Hal. So then Hal, sentient Hal, tells Jon Stewart to tell real life Hal Jordan the hail fall, something like that. The hail falls in Rushville, Nebraska. So Jon Stewart's like, okay. Now, you as the viewer, you immediately know that that's code. The hail falls in Rushville, Nebraska. So Jon Stewart walks the 3 miles to the taco stand where Hal Jordan is signing autographs, taking pictures, kissing babies, doing all this other stuff. You can see that he's a hero at this taco stand. I'm thinking that that was probably Coast City because it looked a lot like Los Angeles, and I think Coast City is sort of the DC equivalent of LA. All right. So he asked Jon Stewart, he said, how'd you survive the crash? And Jon Stewart kind of embarrassingly says, bubble wrap. So with the Green Lantern ring that Hal Jordan left on the dashboard, Jon Stewart had enough time to slip it on his finger and create bubble wrap because that's all his imagination could come up with. So then Jon Stewart tells Hal Jordan the message from the younger Hal, the sentient AI Hal from the ring. He says, the hail falls in Rushville, Nebraska. So immediately, what's up, Sav? Mushy, mushy. Yes, do what Sav says. Like and subscribe. And you can donate at the bottom. See? On PayPal at John Charles. Whatever dollar amount, whatever denomination, it'll be greatly appreciated. You know what I mean? So appreciate everybody in the chat. And we're doing DC and we're doing Marvel. Right now, we're talking about the Lanterns pilot episode. So as soon as he tells Hal the message, the hail falls in Rushville, Nebraska, Hal immediately says, pay the check and flies off with no green aura. All right. So now he leaves Jon Stewart there. Jon Stewart has to go to the airport. He has to fly to Nebraska, rent a car, and go to Rushville, Nebraska, which is some one-horse town. All right. Where Hal Jordan is investigating like a crime scene. He's sitting in the bleachers or whatever. And it's being stonewalled by Kelly MacDonald. Now, if you watch No Country for Old Men, if you've seen Boardwalk Empire, Kelly MacDonald is an Irish actress that plays American girls sometimes. So she's the sheriff of this town. She's kind of stonewalling Hal Jordan. I didn't like it at first. I'm like, is this manufactured tension? Because I just want to see the story progress. You know what I mean? So if you think about it, that's how these hick towns are. I mean, if you're a hick and you're watching, I appreciate you. Donate, subscribe, do all that good stuff. But if hick towns are like that, they're very xenophobic. It's like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? This is our town, chewing straw, overalls with no shirt underneath. No, I'm kidding. But I liken it unto The Last Dance, the Chicago Bulls documentary. What do Chicago Bulls have to do with lanterns? I'll explain. Either game 5 or game 6 of the 97 NBA finals, Michael Jordan had the flu. It's called the flu game. He was sick. After they won the game, he almost collapsed into Scottie Pippen's arms. The Last Dance documentary sort of frames it. Well, Michael Jordan kind of frames it as if he was poisoned, that he received food poisoning from the small town of Utah because the Chicago Bulls were playing the Utah Jazz. They frame it. Now, I'm not saying he definitely said that, but they frame it as if he was poisoned, food poisoning. Why? Because this is Michael Jordan. He's in Salt Lake City. He's in enemy camp. He's in enemy territory. So when I thought about it from that aspect, I was saying, all right, so these small town cops probably just want to handle it themselves. They want to handle it their way rather than having this highfalutin Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, come through and interfere with their day-to-day activities. Because as you can see from the size of the town, ain't much going on there. So something tragic happens at a football game. Like these small college towns, these small towns, like high school football is a big deal in these small towns. Quick testimony. I went to college in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The biggest sporting event in Tulsa, Oklahoma was Jenks High School versus Union High School. That was bigger than any college sporting event, bigger than TU, which is Tulsa University, bigger than Oral Roberts University, where I went. The high school football game drew people from Arkansas and Texas to Oklahoma. So that's just the nature of these small towns. So I kind of got over it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right, so this sheriff is going to be a pain in the butt the whole time. You know what I mean? So Al is trying to keep a low profile. He's trying to get Jon Stewart to learn how to survey the scene without, being right in the middle of the evidence. Because, there's I think they said it's 4 dead visiting teams with I guess the other high school's shirt on. So Jon Stewart notices that one of the shirts has been discarded And there's this other dude just standing there kind of eyeing Hal and Jon Stewart from the bleachers because Jon Stewart goes onto the field. And so the sheriff was like, Kelly McDonald is like, why don't you stay up there? She's like, because she doesn't want this guy to go on a shooting spree. You know what I mean? So I guess that makes sense. I guess that does make sense. So the hick dude looks over and Jon Stewart says, I effed up, didn't I? She's like, pretty much. So then the guy takes off. So Jon Stewart goes running after him, looking like he's running track and field. Like, you know what I mean? So it reminded me of Men in Black, you know what I mean? When Will Smith was with the NYPD, and they chased down the dude that was like on top of the skyscraper. That's what it reminded me of, okay? So he helps out, stops the guy, punches him out or something, and then they arrest him. And Hal Jordan is like, yo, I want to interrogate this dude. But Kelly McDonald's like, no, you can't. So then they go to a bar. This is where Hal Jordan creates the dollar bill. He gives Jon Stewart the ring on purpose. And as they're at the bar, he explains his origin. So it's very true to the comic books. Abin Sur bequeathed the ring to Hal Jordan, said the oath, in brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. He says all that. It's very true to the comic books. All right. And it's done very well, too. So Hal Jordan uses the counterfeit bill to play a song in the jukebox over and over, which will get these rednecks. Again, if you're a redneck, please subscribe, like, all right, whatever. To get them uptight. So they're playing pool like, hey, what are you doing, Jordan? You know what I mean? So the song keeps playing over and over again. He gives the ring to Jon Stewart, and he says, do not interfere. Let this play out. And it turns out Hal Jordan is playing an angle. He just wants to get arrested so that he can go to the same jail that the dude that was at the football game was in. All right. So Hal Jordan goes over to those dudes without the ring and gets the stuffing beat out of him. And he gets arrested just like he wanted. In the meantime, Jon Stewart is at a bar with this lady that's not even that attractive. Has like no hairspray in her hair. Like she looks very plain. She's like a plain Jane. They meet at the bar. She's like, so you're a space cop? He's like, no, I'm in training. And next thing you know, I think about Fleece Johnson when I said that. The lead up reminded me of Fleece Johnson. But anyway, next thing you know, they're in her truck, I guess, doing the do. All right. So Jon Stewart goes to Hal Jordan's hearing the next morning. Hal Jordan is bailed out by some guy named something Macon, all right, who happens to be the husband of Kelly McDonald, the sheriff, all right? So again, I don't want to recap the entire episode, but there's this wealthy dude that has this huge ranch in Rushville, Nebraska. He basically pulls strings so that Hal Jordan can get in and interrogate the dude that Hal suspects is an alien, because he tells Kelly McDonald earlier, they're going to turn out to be alien, the people that were killed at that football game. She's like, how do you know? He says, I have a feeling, you know. So this is the best part of the episode. I'm not saying everything before it was bad. No, I'm not saying that. But this was very interesting. We see Hal Jordan go in. He literally plays his own good cop and bad cop with the guy that he suspects is an alien. Jon Stewart is outside with the sheriff looking, through that two-way glass, you know what I mean? So they can see in, but the alien can't see out. So he very intelligently asks a whole bunch of questions, factual questions. So then he asks him about Barack Obama. They're in Rushville, Nebraska. You ask any Nebraskan about Barack Obama, what's the first thing they're going to say? If anybody's watching, please type in the chat, what's the first thing somebody from Nebraska is going to say to describe Barack Obama? He's black! He's the first black president. He's black. So the alien doesn't do that. And so Hal Jordan's like, you're telling me the only information you trying to pass as a trucker and a redneck, the only information you can give me about Barack Hussein Obama is that he succeeded George W. Bush as the president of the United States. And there was a controversy about his birth certificate. You couldn't tell me that he was black? So that's how he knew. And there was a question about Harry Potter, which is about popular pop culture. So Hal Jordan fingers him immediately. You're an alien, dude. And then the alien breaks cover. You know what I mean? And he says all this stuff is very intriguing or whatever. He says like there's a neutron bomb wired into my exoskeleton or endoskeleton, whatever. So it's very good stuff. It's very suspenseful. So he says that he has enough bomb stock in him to blow up the entire town. So Hal Jordan starts interrogating him. Boom, smashes him up against the glass, throws him into the corner because he hears the guy ticking down, like the bomb is about to go off. So Hal Jordan immediately creates a green bubble. He contains this neutron bomb blast. Now, some of the kinetic force does escape, the bubble, but Hal Jordan saves the town in the first episode, and it's great stuff. It was a great scene. So the aliens toast now. I mean, well, not even toast, because this nuclear bomb was contained in the green force bubble. Why'd I say force bubble? This ain't Star Wars. But anyway, so at the end of the episode, we have a 10-year time jump, 2026. Jon Stewart arrives at the same football field. He drives past what I thought was the ranch. It looked like it got leveled somehow. There's snow everywhere. It looked like a nuclear winter. You know what I mean? So he meets up with who? Kelly McDonald. So she's more engaging this time around. So she says only the groundskeeper has seen this. Now, because we live in this world, there are garbage people out there that put out leaks. And I'll go into the leak after I sum up the episode. So Jon Stewart looking very suave, debonair, got a turtleneck on with like a tweed jacket, whatever. And sitting in the stands covered in snow is a dead Hal Jordan. So it turns out the leaks were accurate, that Hal Jordan dies in the very first episode. This bothered me that he was dead, but it was good for the show because this is the mystery that kicks off the partial slate of gods and monsters, which James Gunn told us about. So he's dead with like a bullet hole in his head. Jon Stewart checks his hand. There's no ring. So apparently somebody murdered Hal Jordan while it's snowing, I guess, and escaped with the ring. Theories abound. The next day at work, I'm just asking questions in my mind, like, how could this happen? Who? And then there's a line from the episode itself where Kelly McDonald asks Jon Stewart. She says, or maybe Hal Jordan asked. I think Hal Jordan asked Jon Stewart while he's interrogating the dude, how many alien species are there on record that can disguise themselves as perfectly human? And Jon Stewart says there are 14. So that could have been the shell of a shapeshifter. Could it be? Again, that's the good thing about a mystery. That's when you know you're engaged, when you start asking questions. You know what I'm saying? Like that. You know what I mean? So was that really Hal Jordan that was dead? Could it have been an alien? Perhaps. But overall, I gave this episode initially a C+, like a 78 or a 79 out of 100. It was very good. I like the banter between Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. It was very engaging. I was never bored watching this. Again, initially I was like, okay, Kelly McDonald, the rest of this town, why are y'all treating this global phenomenon? What up, man? I'm trying, Simon. Why are you giving this global superstar? Like, Hal Jordan is a star. He's also a hero. Like, you're giving him all this trouble. But again, I thought back to The Last Dance. Small towns, they don't like players from other teams coming in, these big shots, trying to upset their way of doing things. So that was the first episode. I am hooked after the first episode. Like, I didn't have a problem with Jon Stewart driving a GMC. You know what I mean? I didn't have a problem with Hal Jordan creating a dollar bill and it working in the jukebox. It was all part of his plan anyway. You know what I mean? So Lanterns did not disappoint. You might think, well, you didn't like it that much if you gave it a C+. That's not true. I did like it. You know what I mean? It's just that there was a lot of dialogue and there wasn't a lot of things happening on screen. Like, we see Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre just talking to each other most of the episode. It was good dialogue, yes, but there weren't a lot of things happening. You know what I mean? Again, good episode. The best part was the interrogation scene. C+, that's sign language. I don't know how you do plus. Yeah, whatever. C+ for the first episode. And my grade probably went up because I asked so many questions about it, because I was just so engaged in what's going on. The first episode, the pilot episode of Lanterns, is, I'm going to go out on a limb, is better than Superman and Supergirl already, and we're just at episode 1. I'm going to leave it at that because I'm not hating on the House of L. I'm not hating on James Gunn. Good job, James Gunn, because this was your vision to have Lanterns be like True Detective. All right, so we are past the 30-minute mark. Again, I'm only going an hour. I appreciate everybody inside, everybody that's in the chat. Simon, what up, my man? Sav, Mushy Mushy, MP, Evo, thank you. Everybody else that's watching. Again, if you are a hick from one of those kind of towns and you come across this video, like it. You can donate. PayPal underneath at that name there. So now we are switching to Marvel because a lot of stuff came out from Marvel. At Disney's Expo 23, D23, we got the special look trailer for Avengers Doomsday, which I loved. You know what I'm saying? Not just because of Doom, but there's a lot of acting that Robert Downey Jr. is doing just through his eyes. just through his body language. He's sitting in that big, ornately designed throne room, all kind of colors. It almost reminded me of Asgard a little bit. There's like a large, like, what do you call those? Stained glass windows. Stained glass windows. That's the whole wall behind Doom's throne. There's like this energy sort of emanating in the middle of the floor on this huge like rune. But he's sitting there like this, and there are no courtiers in the throne room. So when I saw it, I immediately thought, okay, he's kind of aura farming, but he's lonely. That's what I took from it. I'm like, Dr. Doom is lonely. And then there's another like a close-up shot where it's panning down, and you hear Susan Richards, played by Vanessa Kirby. She's talking about how when I knew Victor, he was kind. He was the smartest guy in the room. He was caring. She said, but he lost everything. And she said, I didn't know how broken he was. So the narration is working in conjunction with the camera shot, and he's emoting. There's emotion from Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom without saying anything. His body language is also conveying a sense of loneliness, a sense of being broken. And you see him just like gently rub this like tapestry of this mother and son. Now, if you know the lore of Dr. Doom, you know that Dr. Doom's only goal is to create a world that's governed by him so that all of humanity can be safe. Dr. Doom does not want to destroy Earth. So if you don't know that, I'm telling you that right now. Dr. Doom is not here to destroy the world. He's here to save the world. Now, if the world being destroyed is the same thing as him saving it, yes, he'll destroy the world. But it's not just, okay, I don't like you, boom. No, that's not Dr. Doom. That's not him. All right. He wants to save his mother's spirit from Mephisto's realm. That's why he's amassing so much power. That's why the line, hell answers to me, is just so important for the Dr. Doom character. You know what I'm saying? So we see stunning visuals in the second trailer. We see more Doom, which is what I wanted. We hear more of his accent. You know what I'm saying? We see Magneto, played by Sir Ian McKellen, with the battle helmet on. Now, when he first showed up with his arm in a sling, he looked like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He looked like he had on a Jedi robe. I was like, wait, Obi-Wan? No. And so what we can glean from that is that Magneto was in a battle and he survived a battle. Will he survive the movie? Will Magneto survive? I don't know. Put in the chat if you're watching, do you think Magneto will survive this movie? Because everybody's kind of under the assumption that everybody's going to die because of Dr. Doom. In the first trailer, Doom says something's coming. This is Doom talking about a portends, Portends. He's warning everyone else that something's coming. While people watching the trailer are saying Doom is the one that's coming. No, Doom is warning everyone of something coming. And then in the second trailer, he says, all of you have lived stolen lives and it's time you gave them back. So it almost seems like it's a contradiction. You know what I mean? And again, as I stated earlier, on the board behind Reed Richards is 3 worlds coming together. So that could be the incursion that Dr. Doom is referring to, that Reed Richards has also seen or foreseen. So in this trailer, we see Pedro Pascal acting his butt off, because we really don't ever see Reed Richards this intense. And first, it's a soft intensity. He's like, Victor. He calls him by his name, Victor Von Doom. Victor. He said, did you do this? I mean, like, he's perplexed. Like, did you really cause all this destruction? And later on, he's got Doom by the hand. He's like, answer me, Victor. Did you do this? I can't act as well as Pedro, but Pedro, that's one of my favorite parts of the trailer. Pedro Pascal's intensity is acting. You know what I mean? We didn't really get that much from Patrick Stewart in this one. But we see, you know, Magneto just looking awful at something. And the money shot. We see Dr. Doom plant his hand on the ground. Of course, we saw him, you know, deflect Thor and all the other stuff. He probably could have killed Thor. I mean, imagine all the power it took to block Stormbreaker, when all that lightning on Thor, to block it with 2 fingers, all that power that he halted. Doom probably could have used that same power to just incinerate Thor right then and there. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. You know what I mean? But Doom planting his hand on the ground, there's like a green aura on his hand. Then we see the Sentinels emerge. That was the money shot. And then he turned around in the Godfather pose. No, I'm playing. I'm kidding. But he turns around and says, hell answers to me, for I am Doom. You talk about, man, Excellent stuff, especially for somebody like me that's a long time Marvel Comics fan. The MCU was cooking. It's cooking. And the MCU really got back on track with Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine, I think they what, $1.4 billion? Billion dollars. And last year, I think they gave us 3 quality movies. Captain America: Brave New World. People don't like how it ended. I still thought it was a quality movie. Thunderbolts, quality movie. I just didn't care about any of the characters. And Fantastic Four, First Step. So the MCU has done a lot of course correcting. You know what I mean? Instead of just throwing stuff out there and hoping something sticks. But they gave us 4 quality movies, the 3 last year in Deadpool and Wolverine. Now we have a Sony MCU collaboration with Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is over $2 billion already. And the hype that's creating, the interest that's being created, the buzz. We got Avengers Doomsday coming. So the MCU is right back on track. We got the Russo brothers coming in. In addition to the Avengers Doomsday special look, we got the X-Men cast reveal. Yes, MCU is cooking. We got a Black Panther reveal earlier. Now we have the X-Men cast. I wish I could bring up the images of each actor and actress. But the long-awaited cast has been revealed. We have Professor X, who is the founder of the X-Men. Sav says, Marvel rises. The founder of the X-Men. Professor X is played by an actor named Christopher Abbott, who was in a god-awful movie last year called Wolfman. Oh my God, it was so bad. It was horrible, that movie, Wolfman. I'm not saying Christopher Abbott was bad in it, but the movie was abysmal. It sucked. It was horrible. But that dude is going to be Professor X, all right? Also, the heart and soul of the X-Men, Cyclops and Storm, have been cast. Cyclops is played by an actor named Kit Connor, who's a Brit. I've never seen anything he's ever been in. Maybe you have. I haven't. Storm, who is also the co-leader of the X-Men traditionally, is usually Cyclops and Storm. It's not Wolverine. It's not Jean Grey. Cyclops and Storm are the heart and soul of the leadership of the X-Men along with Professor X. Storm is going to be played by a newcomer named Maya Boyd, who is a stunning beauty. This woman is beautiful. She's brown skinned, just like Storm is traditionally. She can sing, y'all. She can sing. She's done Broadway. She's done theater. So she's going to bring it. And the thing about, you might say, well, why does it matter if they're in theater? You only get one take in the theater. So you got to know your stuff. You got to know what facial cues to use to convey emotions to a live audience. You're not filming a movie live and get all these takes. On Broadway, you got to do it one take. You got to have the right facial feature. You have the right body language to convey to the person sitting in the last row in the nosebleeds that you believe in what you're doing. So it's a big deal if somebody comes from the theater to a movie because they're going to bring it. You know what I'm saying? Yes, Maya Boyd is our Kenyan queen. Yes. Now, let me put this out there. Storm Aurora Monroe is actually from New York. She's not actually from Kenya. She's not from Africa. She's from New York, but her parents moved to Africa. Fun fact, in case you didn't know. So Maya Boyd is going to bring it. We heard her singing on her Instagram. Beautiful voice. She looks like a woman of value. You know what I'm saying? Of quality. Okay, so in addition, we already knew Sadie Sink was going to be Jean Grey because she was shoehorned into Brand New Day. Now, anybody watching in the chat, you can click on the StreamYard link in the YouTube chat, and you can come on here and we can discuss the X-Men cast or the Avengers Doomsday. I would love to talk to somebody. Again, we can do it face-to-face or face-to-profile pic in case you don't want to. So click on that link, the StreamYard link. I will bring you in and we can chat. Because again, I'm shutting this thing down at 7:55. All right, because I only want to do it for an hour. I don't want it to run too long. All right. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for being in here. So Jean Grey is going to be played by Sadie Sink. All right. I only know Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. All right. That's all I have to go off of. She did very well in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Can she bring it as Jean? Who knows? Will her and Kit Connor have good on-screen chemistry? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. All right. There is also an Emma Frost casting, all right, by Samara Weaving, who I believe is the daughter of Hugo Weaving, who is better known as Agent Smith from the Matrix trilogy, who's also known as Elrond from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, all right? He always has that look on his face, and the Matrix, Mr. Anderson. You know what I mean? Now, the reason why Emma Frost is interesting casting is because Cyclops dates Emma Frost after Jean Grey dies for the 9 millionth time. So will there be like a love triangle there between the three of them? Who knows? That'll be great. All right. In addition, we have Rogue, who's played by Indy Navarrete. I did a story about them on The Great Expanse by John Bat 426 on YouTube. All right. She was in Obsession. She showed her range as an actress. I believe she can bring it as Rogue. All right. I'm trying to think if that's everybody that was cast. I think that's everybody. Right. We got Scott, Jean, Storm, Professor X, Emma Frost, Rogue. Oh, and we have our villain. All right. The villain for this first movie already has a release date. I think it's May 8th. No, May 5th, 2028, I believe. The 5th or the 8th. I think it's the 5th. So this X-Men movie is moving full steam ahead. We already have a release date 2 years from now. All right. But our villain for the first movie is going to be played by Adam Driver, who I think is a good actor. The Star Wars sequel trilogy isn't great, but I believe that Adam Driver's Kylo Ren was the standout character in that woe-begotten Star Wars sequel trilogy. I did not like that. But I think Adam Driver's a good actor, okay? He was also in Marriage Story with Scarlett Johansson. I believe he was nominated for an Academy Award for his role there. But he's also tall. He's like 6'2". So, I mean, he was rumored to play either Victor Von Doom or even Reed Richards a couple of years ago. I did a story about it on The Great Expanse by John Bat 426. You can check it out if you want to, all right? So they're casting him as Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister is a maniac scientist. He wants to bioengineer the X gene and create a race of pure genetic mutants, with the primary donors being, drumroll, Scott Summers, Cyclops, and Jean Grey. He also was, and according to comic book lore, he also ran the orphanage in Nebraska, ironically, where Lanterns is taking place. But Mr. Sinister ran the orphanage where Scott Summers was, I don't want to say interred, but where he was an orphan. All right. So remember, Scott Summers, they were on a family trip to Alaska. Okay. The Summers family. I mean, Scott and his younger brother, Alex. Scott and Alex's father is a man named Corsair of the Starjammers, which is almost like the Guardians of the Galaxy before the Guardians of the Galaxy were like created. All right. So the Starjammers were first. Now that would be interesting, a Starjammers movie. All right. But anyway, traditionally, Corsair pushed Scott and Alex out of the plane because the plane was going down. They both had a parachute. Scott and Alex didn't land in the same place. Alex Summers was conscious when he was discovered. Scott Summers was in a coma for a year. Alex Summers was adopted by a family. So when Scott Summers awoke, Alex was gone. So Scott Summers, he was in an orphanage in Nebraska that was run by Mr. Sinister. All right. So you didn't ask for all that information, but I'm giving it to you anyway. All right. And I hope you guys can hear me. Now I'm closer to the mic. All right. But anyway, so Mr. Sinister, I think, is the ideal antagonist for this young group of X-Men, because, and the reason why it's not going to be an origin story is because these mutants, these young mutants, have to learn to get along with one another. They have to learn to trust each other in the field. They have to learn to trust Professor X, because remember, the X Mansion is all the way up in Westchester, New York, where if you knew, you knew. When you're watching Spider-Man Brand New Day, you see Jean Grey on a bus, like on this freeway, you know she's going to Westchester. You just know it. All right. So they've got to learn to get along with each other. They have to learn how to use their powers. So we don't necessarily need an origin for all of the X-Men. You know what I mean? And again, at the end of the movie, they're going to learn to trust each other. And they're going to learn that Professor X is a powerful psychic mutant that is there to not only protect them, but to teach them to fight for themselves and for the good of mutant kind and humankind. So I'm just like, imagine Scott Summers would be like, humans are trash. Why we got to protect them? So there's going to be an ideological conflict between Professor X and Jean Grey, who murked all these people in Spider-Man Brand New Day. You know what I mean? She tried to drive a tank into the damage control building. So you've got to like smooth out the edges of Jean Grey. You know what I mean? Like, she was created in conflict. Her sister was murdered by the damage control crew. Who knows what Scott Summers' backstory is going to be? Who knows what Storm's backstory is going to be? Rogue can't touch people, or they're going to go into a coma. She's going to steal their thoughts and memories, or she could kill them if she held on long enough. So yes, we've got to balance all these personalities. So yes, we don't have time for an origin story. We don't have time for it. So Mr. Sinister is the threat that's going to be coming specifically for Scott Summers. You know what I mean? Because he already has a backstory. He already has history with Scott Summers. So now Professor X has to inform these young mutants that there are threats out there. You know what I mean? Jean Grey already knows about the threats of damage control, but the rest of these mutants have to learn to work together. And that's what I believe primarily the X-Men movie is going to be about. All right. And I love the casting of Adam Driver as Mr. Sinister. I do. All right. So we've got about 5 minutes left. Anybody want to ask a question in the chat? Feel free. Did I go over Vision Quest? I'm going to make it brief. I'm going to make Vision Quest really brief. All right. If you want to pop in and just say what's up in the StreamYard, click the StreamYard link. I will bring you in. I really will. And if there's a problem with the StreamYard, just let me know, please. All right. So I'm going to be real quick with Vision Quest. I'm not interested. I watched the trailer. The special effects look good. James Spader and Paul Bettany look like they have good chemistry as actors. I like seeing actors act. But it looks like WandaVision, the digital version. And they said it's a part of the groundbreaking trilogy of WandaVision, Agatha All Along, and now Vision Quest. I don't care about this series. I really don't. I don't feel like there are going to be any stakes in it. We see that Ultron's coming back in, I guess, the mind of Vision. I guess Vision sort of imprisoned the consciousness or the conscience of Ultron. What up, Treat? Let me read this question real fast. Did you hear that there was a video that says Doomsday can be traced back to the first Doctor Strange movie? Interesting. Now, the reason why that's interesting, Treat, is because in Secret Wars, in the comic books, the new Secret Wars, Doctor Doom, the Molecule Man, and drumroll, Doctor Strange do all they can to salvage different parts of the different realities of the Marvel multiverse, and they bring it together into Battle World so they could salvage something because of these incursions that I alluded to. So yes, Doctor Strange will play a pivotal role in Secret Wars when Doctor Doom becomes God Emperor Doom, ruling over Battle World. Spoiler. So let's get back to Vision Quest. Again, I told you it's going to be brief for Vision Quest. So now we're getting another false reality that we saw in WandaVision. We saw it in the first episode of Agatha, where, what's the actress's name? I don't remember the actress who plays Agatha. But we saw our first nude moment in the MCU when you saw her cheeks flapping when she walked back in the house. So now we got a digitized alternate reality in Vision's head. I'm not intrigued by it. It looked quality. You know what I'm saying? It looked like James Spader wasn't phoning it in. You know what I mean? He looked to be his usual charming self. You know what I'm saying? And you can kind of tell that it looks like Ultron is the one that's kind of like creating this like false trauma, I guess. You know what I mean? He says like nothing brings a family better together better than mortal jeopardy. It looks like Ultron is the one that's behind it. And he's basically saying, free us from your mind, from the mind of White Vision or whatever. All right. But I'm not interested. I'm sorry. I'm just not interested in it. Am I going to watch it? Probably for content's sake. But anyway, that was the D23 wrap up. We got the special look Avengers Doomsday trailer, which was amazing. Again, Robert Downey Jr. is acting his butt off with his eyes, ladies and gentlemen. That's the sign of an actor. He's emoting through his eyes, through his body language. He has this hideous mask on, this hood, this armor that's probably heavy, and he's emoting through his body language. This is just good acting, folks. Good acting. And Pedro Pascal, again, grabbing onto Doom's hand and saying, answer me, Victor, did you do this? Great stuff. We saw the cast, the young cast of the X-Men. Again, I hope I remember everybody. Christopher Abbott as Professor X, Kit Connor as Cyclops, Maya Boyd as Storm, Sadie Sink, Jean Grey, Indy Navarrete as Rogue, Samara Weaving as Emma Frost. And there are more castings that are going to be announced. And Adam Driver as Mr. Sinister. So this is good stuff coming from the MCU. We opened the stream talking about Lanterns. I like what they're doing with Lanterns. I gave it a C+. I don't feel like that's a bad grade. I just didn't glaze it and give it like a high B or an A. But I don't feel like I did Lanterns a disservice. So next Sunday, I'm going to be here to watch Lanterns episode 2 because I'm intrigued by the mystery. Who killed Hal Jordan? Who are these aliens? You know what I'm saying? They have these neutron bombs wired into their skeletal structure. Interesting stuff. Again, we got about 4 minutes. Anybody in the chat have a question? Anybody want to pop into StreamYard for just a brief minute? Click the StreamYard link. I hope the link is working too. All right. So for these last couple of minutes, you know what I'm saying, I'll just kind of just give like a long outro, you know what I mean, to end the live stream. But I enjoy doing this, you know what I'm saying? And of course, we're going to work on the camera. I'm sure it looks like a Star Wars hologram, you know what I mean, with the little lines going up. But this is a webcam on a laptop. So that's why I need your donations, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, if anybody's going to have an origin in the X-Men movie, I hope it's Storm. This is the Treekology. This is definitely the first 5 X-Men storyline, like in terms of the MCU X-Men movie. Yes, I believe that as well, Treek. I think they're going to cast Angel. I think they're going to cast Iceman and Beast. And guess what? Magneto and Wolverine is still out there, but they're such popular characters that you really don't even need to cast them immediately. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to hit the ground running. You're going to be like, oh, Magneto, oh, Wolverine. You don't need to hurry these guys. You know what I'm saying? But again, if there's going to be an origin that they do show in this first movie, I hope it's Storm's origin. I want to see her parents die. I mean, I don't really want to see her parents die, but I want to see the events that transpire after they die. Because she's an orphan. She's like a street rat, like Aladdin. Riff raff, street rat. You know what I mean? Like she's like Aladdin. You know what I mean? She's stealing food to survive. You know what I'm saying? And then she falls into the thrall of a lesser known X-Men villain called the Shadow King. All right. So the Shadow King is a psychic. He's an evil, malevolent psychic entity. So he has all these beggars working for him. And then Professor Charles Xavier goes to Egypt, Cairo, or Kenya, one of those. I think it's Cairo, Egypt. And he has a battle on the astral plane with the Shadow King. And he frees Storm from the thrall of the Shadow King. And I think that would be very good to see play out. You know what I'm saying? You gave LBTV Philadelphia. You gave Lanterns a C? How dare you, sir? You are gross. I give it a C+. All right. I thought it was a very good episode. Again, it's dialogue driven. We kind of just got, something happened, at the end with the interrogation scene. And of course, what happened with Hal Jordan. Okay. Put you guys' grades for the Lantern pilot in the chat if you don't mind. So I don't know. It says 4 people are watching. Maybe, I don't know if all 4 of you still here. Put your grade in the chat. All right. So we can kind of gauge how people are receiving the Lanterns series. Again, Lanterns is what I'm looking forward to the most in James Gunn's partial slate of Gods and Monsters. All right. And again, we're only going to be here for about another minute or so because, again, I only want this to be a concise hour. I don't want to go too long. Oh, Sav gave it a C-. Why so low, Sav? Why so low for Lanterns? C-. And where are you from again, Sav? Because I know you're from across the pond. Are you from the UK? Where are you from, Sav? Because it's great to get people from a different perspective. I mean, not just an American perspective. You know what I mean? So, where are you from, Sav? Trico gave it a B for the first episode. Not mad at it. Albie TV Philadelphia. What was your grade, sir, for the first Lanterns pilot? And again, you don't have to put it in the chat. You can put it in the comment section. This isn't hate, people. I'm his. Okay, so he spoiled it. That is my blood brother. Yes. This isn't hate, people. I'm his real blood big brother. C. Okay, so he gave it the same grade I gave it. Oh, okay. No. I read that wrong. Gave it A-. I'm not even mad at that. Oh, so Sav, you're from East London. Okay. All right. Good to have you in here. Okay, we got about 20 seconds left. So it seems like I got the most viewers at the end of the live stream. But it's all good. I appreciate you guys. I love talking about comic book related stuff. Ever since I was small, this gentleman in the chat, Albie TV, my big brother, got me into comic books, got me into drawing, and I've been loving comic books and comic book related stuff ever since. All right. So again, maybe next week somebody will be brave enough to click that StreamYard link, and we can come in and have a face-to-face or face-to-profile pick chat about Lanterns episode 2, which we're going to talk about next week. And if anything new comes about regarding Marvel or maybe Image Comics, okay, Marvel and DC aren't the only two comic book companies, but Image, of course, was propelled by Spawn and Todd McFarlane in the mid-90s. All right, Eric. Yes, I was small at one point. What's up, Eric? From Albany, New York. Oh, by the way, Albany sucks. It sucks. Well, the Troy section is kind of dull. But anyway, much luck there. He passed the bar. Congratulations to Eric. But again, we're going to close right now. I appreciate all of you. Please come back next Friday, and hopefully we'll have more engagement. I appreciate everybody that chatted. Hopefully somebody will come in, click that StreamYard link, and we can talk face-to-face. This is The Great Expanse by John Bat 426 on YouTube, here on StreamYard, live stream. I'll hit you guys up next week, next Friday, same time, 6:55 to 7:55. Peace. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm.